Hello class, I'm Philip Bradford, and this is my presentation on our movie assessment or the leadership assessment of Remember the Titans. Now, the movie here, before I get started, I want to say a little something about Remember the Titans. This was the scene where Gary was standing talking to his girlfriend. If you'll notice the courthouse clock right here. And then this is the scene where right before he gets hit, in the accident he was in. But if you'll notice the crowd standing back here on the grass right there, this is on the town square. And then this is the truck that's about to hit him. Now, notice right here the little island. And you're probably saying, Philip, why are you showing us all this stuff? Well, this is my hometown. Remember the Titans was filmed in my hometown of Covington, Georgia. See the courthouse clock? See the little island right here? And then this is the sidewalk that the guys was walking down on the night that they went into the restaurant, the players, and they kicked them out because they didn't allow black people in there. So this is my hometown. A little bit more about it. Vampire Diaries, if you ever watched Vampire Diaries, all 7 seasons was filmed right here. This is our courthouse, and that's the Mystic Grill right there. Also, In the Heat of the Night was filmed here with Archie Bunker, if you remember him. Again, here's our courthouse back here, that island there that you saw in the wreck and Remember the Titans. And then the Dukes of Hazzard. The original Dukes of Hazzard was filmed right here in Covington, Georgia, all 7 seasons. So a little tidbit about Covington there, but let's get to talking about Remember the Titans. Now, this movie was shot, or the movie set was set in 1971 in Alexandria, Virginia during the integration. And it's a story about T.C. Williams High School, and it's based on a true story. Now, what we're going to discuss here today is the core leadership styles of Coach Boone, the core leadership style of Coach Yost, which leadership style I would emulate, and then which Kelly followership style there is, and then how the follower and leader participated there. And then we're also going to talk about the organizational cultural concerns. So let's get started. We're going to talk about Coach Herman Boone, played by Denzel Washington. And as always, Denzel did a great job. Now, I say that Coach Boone's leadership style was authoritarian. Now, some of the traits of authoritarian, he tells everybody what to do and how to do it. He directs and controls everything. And then this style at times is necessary and very effective. And we see that this style was effective for Coach Boone with the kids. And if you remember in our leadership book, it talks about this style is used a lot with military leaders and school teachers. Guess what Coach Boone was? He was at a high school. Some of the scenes that played out for this to represent this on Coach Boone was when he first met the players. You remember it was just the black players that was in the gym, and Petey's standing there and he's got his hand raised real high. And they're cutting up, and Coach Boone walks out and he says, "Put your hand down." And then he gets everybody's attention. And then right after that, when all the white players walks in with Coach Yost and his assistants, he tells everybody they're about to go to camp. He says, you better have a tie and you better have a coat. To get on that bus, you better be wearing a coat and tie. He says, this is not a democracy. It's a dictatorship, and I am the law. Now that tells you right there what type of leadership style he has. He is very stern, and everybody's crystal clear on him. Then Coach Yost, right after that meeting, he calls him out on those stairs down there, and he said, you interrupted my meeting. This is my team. And so again, you see his leadership style there. And then the same time when Coach Yost gets on to Petey and puts him on the sidelines, and Petey's going to walk off the field. At this time, Petey is like feeling, wow, he just got on to me right here in front of everybody. And Coach Boone gets on to him for the way he speaks to him. Now, Coach Yost, totally different leadership style than Coach Boone. It's played by Will Patton. And I have him as a participative, which is also known as a democratic leadership style. And they involve the subordinates in the decision making. They motivate and encourage others, and they build feelings of self-worth. Now, some of the scenes that describe this is he showed his leadership when he accepted the change from head coach to assistant coach. Now, he had been at that school as the head coach winning, and now he has to come and play under a black coach. But he stayed on for the kids. Then there was the time that he called Petey back off of offense and put him on his defense after Coach Boone had dressed him down. Then he stood up to those refs in that championship game. You know, his where he was going to get the Hall of Fame award. It was on the line. But he stood up to those refs, and then he actually did not get the Hall of Fame award because of what he did on that field. But he stood up for those players, and he did the right thing. So I would emulate Coach Yost's leadership style. And for these reasons, he's a participative leader. He treated the players with respect. He corrected Coach Boone when he wouldn't give them the water. Remember when they was on the field and Coach Boone kept blowing the whistle and they was asking for water, making them get up and get down, get up and get down. I never played football. I don't know what that's called, but I know it hurts. But they went over and got the water, and then they all got in a fight. But Coach Yost corrected Coach Boone then. Then he questioned him at the time when they ran at 3 a.m. in the morning. He says, Coach, these boys are not Marines. They're high school boys. And then another time he got on to him for getting on to the players in front of everybody, like he did Petey that day on the sidelines. So Coach Yost, this is his leadership style here, and I would emulate that. Now I chose Gary as my followership style. Now, the traits of followership, and you think about Gary throughout the movie as we named these. His style was an effective follower. He thinks for them. They think for themselves. They are an active organizational player. They're energetic, and at times they're risk takers. And this was exactly what Gary was. Now, it's kind of different. Whereas when we watched Crimson Tide, there was one scene that dictated that followership. I think Gary shows this throughout several things as he goes, several different times. So there's several different scenes. The first time is when Gary goes to show up on that bus, and he tells the coach how this team is going to be set up. He tells who's going to be on defense and offense, but then the coach dresses him down, and he says, "You are Jerry Lewis, ain't you? You're a comedian." And then he makes him call him Daddy. Now, how do you think that made Gary feel at that point? Then they go on, and he gets in a fight with Julius as soon as they get to the camp. Remember, he had that poster he didn't want hung up, and they get into the fight right there. And then later on, him and Julius are talking after a practice one day, and Julius calls him out, and he tells him, "Attitude reflects leadership, Captain." And I think that's when Gary really started to get it. Through everything that the coach had told him and was telling him and making them work together. And then on the field, when he got on to one of the guys for not blocking, then him and Julius started hitting each other. They were saying, "Left side." And then he was saying, "Strong side, left side, strong side." They was hitting each other. The whole team came together at that time. And I think that showed Gary's followership, and that's when the whole team started following. Our organizational cultural concerns, I talked about team effectiveness in Northhouse. I chose number 4, unified commitment. He says that a group working together is not a team, but teams have to have a sense of unity. And that's what eventually they had through Coach Boone's leadership. And then I chose number 5, a collaborative climate, which is a trusting relationship. And then in the leadership decisions in Northhouse, I chose number 3, should I intervene internally or externally? And he had to do both. Internally on the team at camp, he had to work real hard. And then externally when they got back to town and all the townspeople was against them. And so those are some organizational concerns we had. So we've talked about participative and authoritarian leadership styles of the coaches, Gary Bertier's followership, and then the organizational concerns. Now, I'm Philip Bradford, and that's my presentation. Thank you. But just a second. I want to introduce my audience in here tonight. Thank you guys for participating. Have a good night.